Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today what we're going to be doing is ranking every single Fortnite season from worst to best. Yes, every single one, not just Chapter 2. I already made a video on that a long time ago. We're going to be doing Chapter 1, Chapter 2, Chapter 3, every single season. Guys, if you don't want to hear my intro here because I want to say a couple things, just take the little red bar down below you and just skip right to the next one. Plus, if you don't want to hear me talk about a different season or like one season specifically, just keep going. Of course, like again, this whole video will be timestamped, so you're welcome to skip through and I appreciate you watching whatever part that you'd like to. One thing I do want to say is, like I said, I already made a video of this on ranking every single Chapter 2 season, so I'm not going to like go super into detail with each season because there's a lot I can say. Like for you guys who follow the channel, you know I love Chapter 2, Season 7, Season X, all those seasons. I could talk forever about them. So I'm going to keep this not as brief as possible, but I'm not going to like gush about the specific of like every single season of Fortnite, if that makes sense. Now, there's just one more thing I want to say is there's a ranking, like of course, like there's rankings that are lower and down and like there's seasons that I'll criticize a little bit. Now, there is no season of Fortnite that I did not have fun playing. I loved every single Fortnite season. It's just when you're comparing them all together, of course, some are going to be at the bottom. So I don't want you to take that and like think about like this in a tier list sort of way, whereas I'm putting this in F tier. No, I actually wouldn't rate a season below C tier, to be honest with you. I think I had fun playing Fortnite. This is my favorite game. I had fun playing every single season. So I just want to let you know, because like, we're ranking 19 seasons here. The number 19 doesn't mean it was a bad season. With that being said, we are going to get right into it. And afterwards, guys, I would love to know what you think down below. If you have time, rank your own. Coming in at number 19, and guys, this is the one where I think everybody will hard disagree with me here, but I'll give you my reasoning for it. It is Chapter 1, Season 9. I had fun playing, don't get me wrong, but this is the season where I almost disliked it because for one reason alone, slipstreams were all over the map, and I will never understand why everybody loves talking about slipstreams and like they're like, okay, I miss slipstreams. Like, we have slipstreams right now in Chapter 3, Season 3. That's slipstreams done right. It's just around one POI. It's great. If the slipstreams were just around Neo Tilted, Mega Mall, Pressure Plant, the brand new POIs, right, I think that would have been great. The problem was slipstreams were everywhere on the entire map. They were constantly, like, no matter where you went, you could see a slipstream, and that caused every single fight that I was in to be a third-party fight. And back then, in Chapter 1, I wasn't a good player, so like I found myself wherever I was going, even if I happened to win a fight, another team would drop on us immediately, and it was just the season of third parties for me. But what was good about the season, the map was great. Besides the slipstreams, of course, like the layout of the map, the POIs, everything, the loophole is fantastic. We had a fantastic live event, the storyline development was great, all the trailers we got, the aesthetics of the season, the futuristic theme, like I loved everything about it. It's just specifically the slipstreams that ruined this season for me, and I can't get over it. It ruined a little bit of the gameplay for me, but don't get me wrong, I still had fun playing. I'm just not a sore loser. It's just like I found myself it was so hard for me to win. I'd had to play really passive, and I don't necessarily enjoy that. Moving on to number 18, we actually have the season that we're in right now, Chapter 3, Season 3. There's nothing like really wrong about this season. It's just like comparing it to other seasons, it just does not stack up. There's not enough. Like, we had for 2 weeks the Dragon Ball collaboration. That was absolutely fantastic, but think about the rest of the season. Like, of course, it's not over. Maybe we'll get a live event that will like knock it up a little bit, because even if we did get an event, unless it's like the best event ever, I don't think it could really like kick up the 3 months of gameplay that we had. Or is it 3 months or 4 months? It's been a very long and dull season. Now, the rotating POIs, it had so much potential, but the problem is every single POI just turned into Coral Castle, Neo Tilted, or Tilted Town. Like, that was cool. Like, the very first POI, we had some great opportunity with that, because I was like, oh my god, what else are they gonna do? Are they gonna start like bringing back other stuff and like rotating through that? Like, but the problem is every single rotating POI turned into the same thing, and essentially we had the same POIs everywhere on the map, and I really didn't like that. And the brand new biome, the biome is really nice. It's very pleasing to look at. I love when Epic Games change up the biomes, but there's nothing really special. Like, we have Dusty Depot in the corner of the map along with the shark. Like, that's awesome to see, but how often do you go there, right? Like, it's just, and now we have Late Game Arena, and that's a lot of fun. It's like at the end of the season, they are really ramping it up to be a little bit better, but that doesn't like just change that I didn't have as much fun as I did in other seasons for these past few months. So that's where I'm putting in number 18, Chapter 3, Season 3, almost at the bottom of the list. Moving on to number 17, actually this applies like what I was just saying to quite a bit. What I was saying about Chapter 3, Season 3 is Chapter 2, Season 1. Now, this season was good for content-wise. Like, the only problem is we went way too long with the season. It was like 6 months or something, because if you think about everything that we got, so we got the brand new map, which turned out to be a little bit of a disappointment, right? It was just a lot of flat land with like dull POIs, and like the very beginning of the Chapter 2 map, like it was hyped for like a week or two, and then it just, we found out the map got boring, and then everybody started talking about how they wanted the Season X back, and I was like, ooh, I hate you. But when you take a look at all this new stuff that they added, like they had fishing, harpoon guns, the Christmas event was the best Christmas event by far. We had blizzards in the game. Nobody remembers that because they actually had a lot of players quit during that season. So blizzards were some of the most fun I've ever had playing Fortnite. Like, I love that weather. It like made it they made the gameplay really fun in that sense. And afterwards, like they just like they had a nice amount of content, especially for like Fortnitemares. If this was packed into a 2 or 3 month season, this would have been one of the best seasons ever, honestly. But the problem is, eventually we kept getting to delay after delay, to disappointment after disappointment, because if you remember, this season wasn't scheduled to be like 6 months. We just kept looking forward to season 2, like the next season of the big chapter 2, right? And it was just like, okay, it's delayed again, it's delayed again. There was just a lot of like, okay, I'm done with this season type feeling, you know what I mean? Now then on top of that, the loot pool is very dull this season. So like at the beginning of the season, it can go back to what I was saying. It can all just go back to this season was too long and it ruined the experience a little bit, but the content for it was actually pretty good. It's just, again, too long, and it ruined the season for me. Moving on to number 16, and I think a lot of you will actually disagree with me here. It is Chapter 1, Season 6. Now, don't get me wrong, this is the part where I'm already having problems breaking a season, right? Because I had a lot of fun. Like, Chapter 1, Season 6 is still considered OG. It had one of my favorite Fortnitemares events ever because it introduced the zombies, and a lot of people hated the zombies. I love the zombies. I think it put like a wonderful spin on the gameplay. Plus, you had the fog everywhere you can see. You had that awesome Chapter 1 map. We had the shadow characters. I don't know, the name's not coming to me right now, where it's like you could turn into the ghoul and then like float around. It was really fun that season. However, there wasn't a ton this season. Like, we had the floating island too, that was great, but that's about it. Like, we had the peak of the season was Halloween, and that only lasted for like 3 weeks if I'm not mistaken. So Chapter 1 Season 6, I actually don't have a ton to say about it. It's just like Halloween really carried this, and if you remember, there was also not really many map changes too. So it's like this season's okay. Like, I had fun playing it. It was a great season. Like, we're here in like anything Chapter 1 was pretty much fun, except in my opinion Chapter 1 Season 9, that's the worst season. But Chapter 1 Season 6, it was pretty good. I enjoyed it, but when you compare it to the other seasons, it just does not add up. Moving on to number 15, we have Chapter 3 Season 2, the season previous to this one. And man, don't get me wrong, I had a lot of fun this season. Like I said, 15 to 10, man, it was very tough to rank, because I'm enjoying every single season of Fortnite, right? I don't want to like hate on it. It's just like explaining my ranking again. This is the last time I'll say this. When you compare it to the other seasons, it does not stack up. So it introduced zero build. That was fantastic. It was very controversial at the beginning, but it turned out to be one of the best things ever. And don't forget, this is where tactical sprint and the mantling came in. This is some of the best movement we've ever seen in Fortnite. Now, the zero build carried this season for so many people. We had so many returning players, but when you take a look at, I'm a big guy who loves the war theme. There was awesome storyline this season. We had an awesome live event. We had awesome preparation to the live event. We got to play with Collision. There were updated POIs like the collider. That's what I meant to say. We were playing around with the collider. It's just, there was so much good about this season. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the new POIs. I enjoyed the IO blimps, and like I said, the vehicles, man, I really enjoy the overpowered vehicles. The armored battle bus and the tank, I was in having fun steamrolling people every single game. And again, you guys might be different from me in that sense, because I really enjoy like just overpowering people. I love the mythics. I love overpowered stuff, and I don't get upset like when I get killed by it. It was like, okay, yeah, it's a little bit strong, but I had so much fun playing the season. I think it's great, and it just, the problem is, the reason why it's ranked so low is just I had more fun in other seasons. Moving on to number 14, and guys, this is something that you will hard disagree with me on. I think a lot of you would have this actually at the bottom. It is Chapter 2, Season 6. Now, why did everybody hate it? They hated the loot pool. They hated the map. They hated a lot about the season. Right now, the problem with this was the makeshift weapons were god-awful, and you were forced to use them. You were also forced to craft if you really didn't like a weapon. That was the problem, though, because if you did not craft, if you did not use these brand new mechanics, you were forced to use these really crummy weapons. That's where, like, a lot of people fell off, because it was so much work to craft brand new weapons. It was so much work to craft. Plus, you had the bows. A lot of people didn't like the bows. I really enjoyed the bows. I love gimmicky weapons. The unstable bow is one of my favorite exotics they've ever put in Fortnite. Like, I got the unstable bow every single time, and then no matter what, though, I had fun playing around with the bow. It was a little bit chaotic, and a lot of people didn't like the new POIs, like Bony Burbs. Yeah, that POI is hot garbage. I didn't like that, but the Spire is awesome. Like, yeah, people didn't like that. It was a little bit wonky to build, but it doesn't bother me. I like the aesthetic. I love the storyline. And don't get me wrong, the storyline, the live event, everything was great. We finally got the foundation back. There was so much good about the season that I understand. Here's the thing. I understand why people don't like the season. I understand why people can't get over the problems with like crafting and all that. You know what I mean? I can understand how this gameplay negatively affected so many people's opinion on the season, but it didn't bother me. I enjoyed a lot of it, actually. And did the crafting suck? Yes, like they should have gone the nuts and bolts route. Nuts and bolts is where they absolutely nailed crafting, because like it wasn't necessary to use, but if you wanted to change for your weapons, you could use the nuts and bolts and have it change your weapons, and it would add to the loot pool without cluttering the loot pool. Like, that was great, but they were just getting into crafting, and it was a test run. The test run kind of failed. They also introduced wildlife. I really enjoyed the raptors, even though a lot of people didn't. Like, there was a lot about this season that I enjoyed that a lot of people didn't, and that's why, honestly, it's not my favorite season, but I really enjoyed the gameplay for this. It was great. We're gonna move on, though. At number 13, I have Chapter 2, Season 8. Now, I don't have a ton to say about the season. Like, don't get like the gameplay just flew really nicely. Like the season started off with a huge disappointment after the live event in Chapter 2 Season 7, right? Because it looked like we were going to get a ton of map changes, a big post-apocalyptic type game, you know what I mean? So the cubes were coming back, and there was just a big letdown at the beginning of the season. But however, the loot pool was great, the updates were great, everything that we got for Nightmares was great. Like, it's just, there was so much good about the season as the season progressed, and the gameplay for me, man, the gameplay flowed perfectly. And with the Cube Queen coming down, there were map updates with the convergence turned into the pyramid. I really enjoyed the updates. We got to look forward to all the storyline content. This season flew very well with the updates, and they just, honestly, I think Epic knocked it out of the park. I think they really did well, especially with the lead up to Chapter 3. There was a lot of hype throughout the entire season, which was great. And on top of that, it wasn't ruined. Like, the gameplay didn't ruin anything. You could still hop on Fortnite if you wanted to and just have nice, solid gameplay. The loot pool was great. I loved everything about the season. Chapter 2 Season 8, man, it was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. Plus, the live event was one of the best live events we've ever seen. It was great. I loved everything about it. We're gonna move on, though. Coming in at number 12, we have Chapter 3 Season 1. Now, this was a new map done right. Like, people were talking about the Chapter 2 season, like the Chapter 2 Season 1 map, and this is where I had a big problem with it. It was like, okay, we're getting a new map. What if it's just like Chapter 2 Season 1, where it's like, it's fun for a couple weeks and we don't like it anymore? And I'm someone who, like, at the end of Chapter 2, I actually really enjoyed the Chapter 2 map. Like, I was ready for a new one, though. So Chapter 3, the map, they knocked it out of the park this time. I love the different elevations. I was having so much fun playing on that brand new map, and that's pretty much like the majority of it, because this map was so good, especially at the beginning, especially with they like as they updated the map throughout. Like, we had Covert Cavern, is that what it's called? Like, I know it's Command Cavern, Covert Cavern, I believe. Regardless, we had that unveiled, we had the Colombo unveiled, we had Tilted Towers under the snow, and there was a lot of stuff to look forward to throughout the whole season. Plus, the Spider-Man Mythic was some of the best we've ever seen. A lot of people didn't like the Daily Bugle too. I love the Daily Bugle. I thought that was a very well laid out POI. Plus, there was just so much to look forward to throughout the season. The updates were fantastic. We had the introduction of tornadoes and weather and lightning storms. Now that I'm thinking about it, where the lightning storms go? We haven't seen that back. We've seen the tornadoes back. Regardless, like, there was so much good about this season. This season, like, it was just a solid A tier season, to be honest with you. Like, it's just, when you compare it to the rest of the seasons, it doesn't stack up like that. I really enjoyed Chapter 3 Season 1. I think it's the best season of Chapter 3 so far. Moving on to number 11, and guys, I feel like you'll disagree with me on this one as well. It is Chapter 2 Season 5. Now, what a lot of people's complained about this season is there was just collaborations this season. That was the content. However, yes, we didn't get a lot of content here, and a big disappointment for me was Winterfest. Was a fat disappointment. It was one of the worst events. Honestly, that Winterfest was worse than the summer event that we just got, in my opinion. I was so disappointed by that, especially, but that's not what I'm talking about, okay? I was just like, man, I just love Christmas so much, and I love what Epic Games does with Christmas. So it's just, yeah, that was a big disappointment for me. But regardless, this whole sand biome and the 0 point and the storyline that we had with this carried the season for me. On top of that, we had a really awesome loot pool. Like, the brand new POIs, every single thing in the sand, the gameplay was so solid, especially in those new POIs. I loved Colossal Coliseum with the idea where you could only get out like above and through a couple doors, like you were trapped inside a Coliseum. It really had that Coliseum feel, and it was one of my main drop spots. Plus, the sand tunneling was some of the best we've ever seen. We had the 0 point shards where you had to, like, you could dash like the 0 point fish. It's not coming to me what the name was. I think it was just the 0 point shard. Regardless, everything about that sand biome was fantastic, and the gameplay, I just had so much fun playing. I had so much fun playing that season. The loot pool was great. The map was great. I love Chapter 2 Season 5. Yeah, there weren't a lot of updates, but I was okay with that because I was just enjoying the gameplay. I loved it. All right, guys, we're breaking into the top 10 here, and man, did I tell you, I had a hard time ranking from 10 to 5, and I had a really hard time ranking from 5 to 1. We're gonna start off number 10 with Chapter 1 Season 3, man. One of the OG days in Fortnite. Oh, something I completely forgot to mention. Was I didn't play in Seasons 1 and 2 of Chapter 1. I didn't play, so I can't rank them on this list. I completely forgot to mention that at the beginning of the video. Anyways, Chapter 1 Season 3 was my very first season of Fortnite. Actually, long story short, I never got that big feeling of the OG days when you got your very first win, because I just got carried by a squad and won the first game that I ever played. Like, my friend was like, hey, you gotta try this game Fortnite. I was actually really reluctant to try it because I'm just stupid. I don't like a ton of new things. You know what I mean? Especially, like, I'm used to my games. Like, I'm not here to like, now I've opened up a little bit, but like back then I was like, I like my Halo, I like my Smash Bros. I'm just gonna keep playing that. But I almost didn't try Fortnite. Then my friend called me, we hopped on, they just carried me to a win. I was like, okay, I didn't really do much. But yeah, that was my first game of Fortnite. And Chapter 1 Season 3, man, like, there wasn't a lot of content, but it's just the OG days, the OG vibes. It was a great game, you know, like, and the only thing I really missed from Chapter 1 Season 3 was the no turbo build. That and everybody sucked. Like, that was just a special feeling. However, I always say that I like how Fortnite has become. I like Fortnite more now than I did in the OG days. It was just a lot of fun. Chapter 1 Season 3 it was a really good season back in the day. There's just, like, I feel like I'm ranking this nostalgically, but there was a lot of content, like, that does not compare to today, you know what I mean? So it's solid. Like, I have to throw it down at number 10, Chapter 1 Season 3. That's where I'm gonna have to throw it. I'm gonna keep it there. there. Moving on to number 9, we have Chapter 1, Season 4, the next season after that. Now, this is where Fortnite really started to pick up. We had the Hop Rocks and Dusty Divot. That honestly really carried the season. Plus, they started off with the storyline. You had some awesome stuff with the superheroes. We thought that was a storyline that ended up not being a thing. We had the meteors crashing down, or was that in Season 3? Regardless, we had more to do with the meteor. We had the rocket launch, the very first live event ever. That was fantastic. Like, Season 4 is when Fortnite really started to pick up, and it became mainstream, and everybody was always talking about Fortnite, so your wins were, like, so much more hype, right? But anyways, dropping down at Dusty Depot, the Hop Rocks, was one of the best POIs ever, man. And it's just, that is honestly pretty much what I did that entire season. I believe Risky Reels came out here, but I could be wrong about that. Usually I'm not too wrong with my Fortnite facts, but I don't remember if Risky came out. Regardless, there were so many times I spent the majority of the season dropping Dusty Depot and like trying to just conquer that area with my squad. Plus, we had the Thanos mode, one of the best LTMs of all time. Like, this season was just amazing at number 9. Now, a lot of people would probably have this near number 1, but I actually enjoyed more seasons than this. I really did. So we're gonna move on. Chapter 1, Season 4, sitting at number 9, sitting pretty. Moving on to number 8, we actually have Chapter 2, Season 4 instead of Chapter 1, Season 4, the Marvel season. I lucked out. I was one of those people. I love Marvel. I love the gameplay, but man, those mythics and the POIs carried the season. I always say, like, it was a little bit of disappointment at the beginning because the Epic Games didn't update a ton, but we had the whole Stark Industries biome coming. We had an awesome live event. We had an awesome loot pool, awesome mythics, so much stuff to look forward to, so much storyline, so much lore. There was so much amazing things about this season. The updates were fantastic every single time that they dropped one. I actually like Pleasant Park. I love dropping Doom's Domain, getting the mythics, and like every single thing that the superheroes touched on that map was an amazing success. And that whole Stark Industries biome, man, I wish it stayed the whole time. Like, I understand it can't because of the collaboration, but that was such an awesome POI. It was such an awesome biome to take that big crater land and just drop it. I loved it. I love the map. I love the gameplay, mythics, weapons. This entire season was great. I enjoyed the battle pass, although I prefer Fortnite characters. Like, I prefer a Fortnite original battle pass, but it was really cool to have Iron Man. I enjoyed every single moment of this season, but I understand people's criticism for it. Like, the gameplay was some of the best you'll ever find in Fortnite, honestly, and I'm looking forward to another Marvel season if we get it next season. That's what I'm thinking. Chapter 2, Season 4, excuse me, sitting at number 8, sitting pretty. It's a very solid season. Moving on to number 7, we have Chapter 1, Season 5, the best of the OG days in my opinion. Now, there's not too much I have to say about this because it's a lot of the same stuff I was saying about Chapters 1, Season 3, and 4. It's just the OG days, good vibes, but however, the map was just infinitely better. Paradise Palms, Westworld at the bottom of the map. We had knockoff Junk Junction. That whole desert biome was like one of the best biomes in Fortnite history. It's one of the best maps you will ever see in Chapter 1, Season 5. Plus, we had Lazy Links. It's just a big improvement. Plus, we had the vehicles back. We had the golf carts that just finally came out, and that was awesome to see in Fortnite. The loot pool was pretty solid. It was pretty much the same as like Chapter 1. Again, Season 3 and Season 4 was the same, except like improved upon. They fixed up the map. The map is just so much better, and that's the biggest thing because you can compare like the gameplay, right? It all kind of like felt the same. A lot of people were complaining about the spray meta, like the P90 came out then. Didn't bother me at all, honestly. Like, you know me, I don't care if I die. I don't care if there's an overpowered weapon in the game. It doesn't ruin the experience for me. But Chapter 1, Season 5 was actually my favorite out of the OG days. This is a very good season. That's why it's sitting at number 7. Moving down to number 6. Okay, now here's what I'm saying. Okay, I have it listed from 6 to 1 here. This was so hard to rank for me because these are my favorite seasons of Fortnite, and man, like, honestly, every single one could almost take the number 2 spot. Maybe number 1 is solid for me. Number 1 is solid. You guys will know it if you watch the channel, right? Anyways, we're gonna talk about Chapter 1, Season 7 right now. Some of the best OG, like, I understand this isn't OG, but a lot of people do consider this OG. I love the planes. I loved the planes, loved the winter update, loved the storyline with the Ice King, loved Polar Peak, some of the best POI in Fortnite history. That whole biome was crazy. We had some of the best Christmas event, like, oh my god, the Christmas event lasted so long, and we had the Ice Storm, we had the live event that was a little bit lackluster, but I still enjoyed it. Like, the whole storyline with the Ice King, every single thing that you turned around and looked at this season was amazing. Plus, we had the introduction for creative, we had the introduction for arena. There was so much stuff to do all the time where it's just like, okay, we were getting overflowed with content. And I remember at the time people were actually complaining about it, that Epic Games was changing the game too much, and I could not believe what I was hearing from those people. Do you remember that? People were talking about like, okay, they're making too many updates. Like, I couldn't believe it. And then and don't get me wrong, not everybody was saying that stuff, but I just very distinctly remembering it. And a lot of my friends too, like, didn't like the addition of Siphon, like changing up the games. They didn't like the LTMs coming out, and I was like, oh my god, guys, what are you talking about? Now of course we're craving that stuff, right? And it's just like, I was enjoying it back in the day. Like, man, the loot pool was great, the planes were great, and a lot of people were complaining about the planes being overpowered too, but I love nothing more than driving a plane through a build fight. Like, that was so much fun. Chapter 1, Season 7, some of the best memories I've ever made playing Fortnite. Plus, for me personally, if you have a good Christmas event, that automatically shoots the season up because I'm a big Christmas guy. Christmas is my favorite holiday. I love November and December. I'm one of those weirdos that gets ready for Christmas at the beginning of November, right? So it's just like, that season was amazing. One of the best seasons in Fortnite ever. And this is what I was talking about. Like, this is one of the best seasons in Fortnite history, and I have it ranked at number 6. Like, that, all these kids switch around, to be honest with you. Like, this is such a good season, Chapter 1, Season 7. Moving on to the top 5, we have Chapter 1, Season 8, a little bit better than Season 7. This is like I had a hard time deciding between these two because they're next to each other, right? Chapter 1, Season 8. What did they change? They had the same, all the great things, besides the planes, of course, all the great things that were brought with Season 7. Like, we still had creative, we still had arena, we still had the awesome POIs, right? Like, there was everything still that we've had in Chapter 1, Season 7, except it was just built upon. We had the volcano, which is an awesome POI, sunny steps, we had knockoff risky reels, we had the whole jungle biome, we had ballers, every single, like, they just took the season and just added to it. Plus, we had the vault, an amazing live event, one of the best, most underrated Fortnite events people don't talk about anymore. Like, this live event was fantastic. It was like a 2-part live event. We finally, after all this time, had the tilted towers destroyed. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much that this season, like, again, the updates were just perfect. The loot pool was great. I loved everything about the loot pool, the brand new weapons, the brand new things, and to have like lava in Fortnite was a different change. There was just everything that they added. They took Chapter 1 Season 7, took out the planes, and just built upon it. And that's why I have it ranked a little bit higher. I love the gameplay for this. Some of the best gameplay I've ever had. Oh, and I didn't even talk about the cannons. The cannons on Lazy Lagoon they added when I was talking about the brand new POIs. Like, it's just, this season was just amazing. One of the best Chapter 1 seasons in my opinion, honestly. Like, and I think a lot of people would actually agree with me on that. That's why it's sitting at number 5, Chapter 1 Season 8. Moving on to number 4, we have Chapter 2 Season 3. I've gushed about this season for so long, guys. I've talked about some of this. Is the most fun I've ever had playing in Fortnite with the whole flooded map, and every single week we had like, man, like the POIs were changing, and not only were there was the water going down, the POIs were changing as the water went down. And like, it was so weird because for so long we were speculating. Like, we were speculating about what if Noah's Ark was real, what if the Fortnite map actually got flooded, and it was awesome. Like, with all the entire thing about the gameplay, the mythics, everything was perfect. It was the perfect aftermath for Chapter 2 Season 2, man. Like, it's just the whole gameplay for this, the loot pool, everything. A lot of people complain about the charge shotgun, but that's actually my favorite shotgun. Like, I feel like I have a lot of different opinions from people in Fortnite, and plus we had all the cars finally drivable throughout the map. And like, this season, also the great thing about the season, it was so short. It was like 2 months. It was like Chapter 1 Season X, right? It was really quick, so we got to play with our awesome content, and we never got the chance to get bored of it. I loved it. Chapter Season 3 was fantastic. I don't have too much else to say about it, to be honest with you. The flooded map made for some of the best gameplay experience I've ever had, and every single update was awesome. They changed up so much about the map. They updated the entire map this game. The entire map. That was fantastic. I loved it. Chapter 2 Season 3 was fantastic, and that's why it's sitting at number 4. And yeah, believe it or not, I like 3 seasons more than that. Moving on to number 3, we have Chapter 2 Season 2. Everybody talks about this being the best Chapter 2 season. Man, are they not lying. Chapter 2 Season 2, they nailed it with everything. The storyline, the 2 live events, by the way. We got 2 live events this season. The Travis Scott concert, something that they've never done before. I know they've done the Marshmallow concert, but man, like, it just does not add up. Like, the Travis Scott one just completely blew it out of the water. We had awesome updates, and yeah, this season was long, just like Chapter 2 Season 1, but man, the gameplay was awesome. We had the henchmen, the vaults, the new POIs, which were fantastic. This is one of the best maps in Fortnite history. Plus, the entire season we got to look forward to Midas and his storyline leading up to the device live event. We finally got the reveal that we're in a simulation. This is where the Fortnite storyline really took off from what it once was, and there was so much, like, I could gush about this season for like years, man. There was such good things about this season. No matter where you went, you were having fun. The new POIs were awesome. The mythics were awesome. By the way, this is the introduction to mythics. And they did it perfectly right. The battle pass was great. They gave each character their own story, and each skin in the battle pass was awesome. Like, every single thing about this season, every single update, the loot pool, you can take a look at anything this season, including the length, and if you would think, okay, you can't find anything bad about this season. There was nothing bad about this season. Absolutely nothing. It was, honestly, I know I rated 2 seasons perfect above this, like, or excuse me, not perfect. Like, I know I rated 2 seasons above this, but you could talk about different flaws. Like, for example, I'm not going to give you a hint of what they were, but like, you can think of flaws for every single season. I think this is actually the only Fortnite season, Chapter 2 Season 2, where you cannot point out a flaw. I think there's everything that was done in the season was a 10 out of 10, perfect job by Epic Games. Absolutely nothing went wrong with the season. I loved it, but it's sitting at number 3, Chapter 2 Season 2. There were 2 seasons that I enjoyed better than this, and let's get right to them. Sitting at number 2, we have Chapter 1 Season X, and man, guys, I know a lot of you will disagree with me on this one. I know there's so many people now on Twitter talking about how great Season X was, how great the updates were, how great the POIs were. It would be great to see Rift Zones back, and I was like, you guys hated this season, man. You guys hated this season. All you guys that are talking online right now were so vocal during Season X, but I keep meaning to make a video about those people that like switch their opinions, the impressionable people, but that's not what we're talking about. Chapter 1 Season X. I love the Rift Zones. I love the storyline. The best live event of all time. Loved the loot pool. Loved the mechs. Yes, I love the mechs. I am not one of those people, like I've talked about in this video, like the reason why I love mythics. If I die to a mech, I'm like, okay, we'll load into the next one. I'm not one of those people that you saw online breaking their monitors or turning off the game or making a point. It's like, I'm not playing this game because there's mechs in the game. The mechs were easy to fight against, and in Chapter 2 they proved that. Nobody tried to fight against the mechs. I tried to fight against the mechs, and I found it quite easy to beat them. Just don't get shot by them. Shoot the seat. Shoot the guy out of the seat. the mechs were actually easy to take down, and I will defend that until the day I die because I tried to take the mechs down. Nobody else tried to. If you tried to have fun in this season, you definitely would have, because, and I understand the people who don't necessarily like the map. And Tilted Town, by the way, everybody loves no build now, but I was sitting there like, okay, yeah, Tilted Town was great at the time. It was awesome to have a POI with no build and no break, and Tilted Town was crazy to drop out. Plus, every single week we had a brand new POI. We had Starry Suburbs, my favorite POI of all time. That was great. Every single POI that you went to, there was a gimmick to it. Like in Retail Row, we had the zombies. In Borderlands, you got some shields. One of the best collabs we've had in Fortnite, by the way. In in Tilted Town, you had no build and no break, and in Starry Suburbs, loot fell from the sky. Like every single POI that you went to was perfect. There was something different about it, and when the storm ended there, people actually campaigned for the circles not to end around the rift zones. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, man, this is the best part about the season, is going there and having a different gameplay, again, trying to adjust your gameplay. Like, it was different every single time that you went. Each match was so different, and I loved that. I loved it. Not to mention the best live event of all time. They knocked it out of the park, and like I was talking about with Chapter 2 Season 3, the season was short. We had fun with the season. We had every single update, and we had so much to look forward to with each update. And again, the storyline was starting to pick up because we had the scientist tapes and we had to discover them, and it's like everything's great about the season. Even the battle pass. The battle pass was some of the best battle passes we've ever seen in Fortnite history. Like, every single thing about the season I loved. But again, I understand why people didn't like the season. It's just the mechs where I think people are like over exaggerating. I think the mechs, people didn't try to fight against them, and if they would have tried to fight against them, they would have done well. They would have enjoyed the mechs. But like the Rift Zone, the Battle Pass, I understand why people wouldn't like that. They'd rather have like brand new POIs. Like we had Gotham too. Like the part around Tilted changed twice that season, and people are still complaining about it. I'm like, I don't get it, man. I don't get it. I enjoyed the season. Every single thing about the season I like. Chapter 1 Season X was fantastic in my opinion. Moving on to number 1, guys, and I've talked about it so many times on the channel, so I'm gonna keep this as brief as possible because I could talk about the season forever. It is Chapter 2 Season 7, man. The UFO season. The biggest thing for me this season is they fixed the gameplay where we were having such problems throughout Chapter 2 with the low player count. We had the mini game where you go up to the abductor, and man, was that a fun mini game, was it not? And plus the storyline for it was so good. Like the whole alien theme and the lead up to it, and we got the introduction of Dr. Sloan. The only problem I had with this season is that there were not as many LTMs. Like I think a couple came out and the map didn't change that much, but that didn't even matter to me because I enjoyed playing in the season. The UFOs are the best vehicles ever. I've trolled so many people with it, my teammates, you know what I mean? But even if like it's the same thing with the mechs, the same problems where it's like people didn't try to fight against them. They were just like, the UFO's too powerful, I can't take it, but they didn't shoot at it. They just sat there and quit. It's the same problem with the mechs, and people let that ruin the season for them. Now, it's not as much as Season X in my opinion. It's not as much hate you see for Chapter Season 7. It's like people either really love the season or people really hated the season. It's like not a lot of in between, but this loot pool was the most fun I've ever had playing in Fortnite. They brought back, finally, the wacky, weird items. For example, the Gravitron. So that was amazing. That should be in every single season of Fortnite. There was, again, I'm going way too much into this. I've already been talking for a minute, but I've talked about at great lengths on the channel why I love Chapter 2 Season 7 so much. The Battle Pass was okay, but the gameplay for me, man, the gameplay, the storyline, the updates, the hype, it was so content-filled. And again, we had 2 live events. Operation Skyfire was one of my favorite events of all time. Chapter 2 Season 7 was the best season in Fortnite history for me, and honestly, it's not even close. Like I talked about from 2 to 6, Chapters 1 Season X, Chapter 2 Season 2, Chapter 2 Season 3, Chapter 1 Season 8, Chapter 1 Season 7, those were all close, but Chapter 2 Season 7 just sticks out for him. That was the most fun I have ever had playing in Fortnite. There were days in that season where I played twice. I had like 2 sessions of Fortnite. It was fantastic. I love that season. Fantastic, and I have nothing but good things to say about it. That's my favorite season in Fortnite history, sitting at number 1, Chapter 2 Season 7. And guys, that's gonna do it for this video. That is my ranking from every single season in Fortnite history from worst to best. If you have time, I'd love to know what you think. What do you think about my reasoning? I think you guys will disagree with me on Chapter 1 Season 9 being at the bottom, and a couple of you will disagree with me about Season X, although like some of you forget how much you hated that season, you know what I mean? So I'd love to hear what you think down below. If you have time, write an entire season, like write an entire list from like 1 to 19, or if you played even earlier than that in OG Fortnite, write every single season. I'd love to read about it in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think and what was your favorite season and why. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you're new here and enjoy the content, please consider the like button to help out the channel a ton, and subscribe if you're brand new. Check the description down below for links to all my other channels, as well as a link to Real Ember on Fiverr will take care of all of your YouTube thumbnail needs. Remember, guys, thumbnail is the most important part of the video. If you want to be a YouTuber, check out Real Ember. He will take care of yours. He take care of this thumbnail. He can take care of yours too. Lastly, guys, if you'd like to use my support creator code in the item shop, is code Clen, #anime, #epic partner. Thank you so much for watching again, everybody. I will see you in the next video. Take care.